So in the last session, we had a discussion on calendar and currency. Also, we created accounting calendar in the system. We given certain inputs. Based on the input, system created accounting calendar. When you talk about future years, you no need to create separate accounting calendars. You can create the periods for future years in the same accounting calendar. Calendar creation is one-time decision. Once you create, you have to follow the same. No amendments are recommended or doesn't work even if you go and do some changes. So that will create many data related issues. So we should not do any changes once calendar is in use. And when we talk about transaction creation, as we discussed, date, description, amount need to be captured. The date we can capture with the help of calendar or call it as accounting calendar. And what are the amounts you are entering that you have to represent with the currency. All the currencies Oracle is providing as seeded data. Those currencies are classified into three types: functional, foreign, stat. The local currency we are calling as functional. Other than local, all are foreign. For some sort of calculations purpose, we use other than currency measurements. Those measurement related data we treat as a stat currency. It is nothing but statistical information which we are using for some calculations purpose. So this is what we discussed and we have seen in the system in the last session. So when you talk about transaction creation, other key information is description. What exactly you are doing, who is doing. These details we have to capture. So when you talk about this description, okay, when you talk about this description, when you talk about the description, what details we have to capture. When we record the business transaction, what details we need to capture as a part of business transaction. As a part of business transaction, which details we need to capture. So mostly we may capture the transactions belongs to which company. And again, within the company, it belongs to which department and what activity we are doing. That activity you may represent with account, and where you are doing the business, maybe the location. This is how, what are the details you want to capture that you can take as a description. Why description is required? The description is required to understand about the transaction. Based on that understanding, the description will help us to produce the reports. So tomorrow you want to produce the reports for which company, how much expense we spent in the last month. If you don't capture the transaction, company and department combination, you cannot produce a report which talks about which company spent how much expense for so-and-so department, or in so-and-so department level, how much expense we spent. Or if you want to identify how much profit we could make out from the last financial year, if you want to track that information, if you don't include company as a part of description, you don't find the transactions with the company wise. When we don't have information, you cannot have report also. So what are the information we are going to capture with the description? That information for the purpose of reporting. So always we should remember the description what we capture in every transaction, that is for reporting purpose. Based on the internal and external reporting requirements, by keeping that in our mind, we have to capture the description. In our applications, when we are going to create the description, what we have to create and all we will discuss. Before we get into that, let's focus on these relevant data. Say company. So for our discussion purpose, we are taking the company called as Amex. We are taking the company called as Amex. We'll go with the same example. Later, we'll change the company name. We'll pick some other client and we'll just do all the setups accordingly. For now, we'll go with Amex. So when you talk about Amex, what are the different companies they have? So they have Amex Financial Services. Number 2, Amex BPO Services. 3, Amex say consulting services. Okay. So these are the 3 companies. For our better understanding, let's take this data. Now, how many departments they have? So they have a departments like finance department, HR department, sales, marketing, and many other. You can list out. Accounts. When you look at any organization, you can find the accounts in thousands and lakhs also. If organization is very large organization, you can find accounts in lakhs. They do many different operations. In each operation, they do different activities. For each account, they use separate account. Even within the account, they can use different accounts also. If you take activity of purchasing activity, within that they can purchase different items. For each item purchase, they can have a separate account also. So when you are selling something, so we get the revenue from the customers. So you may just get different revenues because of different items or services that you have to capture separately. When you spend something, you may spend for different expenses. For different expenses, you have to maintain different accounts. And this is how just your liabilities, assets. There is a lot of information you have to capture under account when it comes to organization. So all the accounts you have to maintain under this account title. So let's take few account names for our understanding purpose. The primarily organization has to pay the salaries to the employees. Salaries is one of the account. Okay, they just operate the company and some operational expenses. Or you can call as more detail level admin expense, different expenses. The company should maintain the bank accounts, say HSBC, bank, cash account, Citibank, cash account. This is our different accounts. We will come to know all those accounts in our classes. And apart from that, when we are working for any implementation, this complete information we get from the client. How do we get, what templates we use, is all we will discuss and will understand. Now, for our discussion purpose, let's take this data. This data is enough for us. If you are going to record any transaction at any point of time, you have to capture these details because we have a requirement of generating the reports company-wise and company and department-wise for certain activities what you do in the business. So we have 3 titles like company, department, account. Under each title, we have a relevant data. And when we talk about these 3 titles, company, department, account, under each title, we have a different relevant data. This complete information belongs to which organization? That you can give as a primary title. You may give as a title as Amex, American Express, say corporation. This is the title. Under Amex Corporation, you have companies, departments, accounts. Under companies, we have a list of companies. Under department, list of departments. Under list of accounts, under account title. This is how we have a data. If you want to record this, any business transaction in the system environment, to capture the description, we need this data in the system. That means we have to go and predefine this data in the system. In our Fusion applications, we have to maintain this data. How many companies, departments, what are the different accounts you use in the day-to-day business operations? All the accounts we have to maintain within the Fusion applications. If you go and maintain this data in the Fusion applications, whenever you require, you can just use this data to create the transaction. I'll go and maintain this data in the system. If I perform some activity, by referring this data, I can create the transaction without writing anything. So let me give this codes for the departments also. You can give the codes. So third. So this is how you have to maintain the data in the system. Now, if you are performing any transaction, you are paying salaries. When you are paying salaries, you can record transaction like this. Who is paying salaries? The company. You can take company 1 dot. Which department is paying? Say HR department. Dot 2 dot what we are paying salaries. 1 dot 2 dot 1. It means 1 means the first set of information, companies, company 1. 2 means department 2, HR. Again 1 means account 1, that is salaries. So somebody started drawing something. Please don't do this. Clear. Yeah, please don't do any drawings and all. Don't touch any other tools. Fine, thank you. So to record the transaction, you can give the date, and to capture the description, you no need to write all these as a part of transaction. You have to predefine this data in the system. You have to create and you have to keep ready to reuse it. Okay, to reuse it, you have to create all this. And whenever it comes to transaction creation, you can select which company, which department, which account. Just you can select the codes. This you can call as company codes, department codes, account codes. Just select code. Every code refers the relevant descriptions. So these are the company descriptions. These are the company codes. Department codes, department descriptions. Account codes, account descriptions. This all can be referred. This is how we can make our job is very easy when we record the transactions. So if you want to create all these in the system environment, what we have to do? This is how we need data in the system. This is how we need data in the system. If you need the data in the system, so this all you can create. These titles we have, right? These titles, whatever we have, these titles, if you create in our Fusion applications, these titles we call as segments. As per system, okay, the terminology what we use is segments. Company segment, department segment, account segment. Why we are calling these three as segments? The reason is these three titles are segmenting the data. With these three titles, we are doing the segmentation, means separation. We are separating the data as this is the company data, this is the department data, this is account data. So by using the titles only, we are able to segregate the data. That is the reason the titles, if you create in the system, in our Fusion applications, we call as segments. Now here we are talking about three segments. So company segment, department segment, account segment as per our Fusion applications. Now, if you call company, department, account as a segment, what about the information which is under the same segments? When you call this as a company segment, these values, system point of view, what you enter those we call as values. So if you call company as a segment, company segment, these all we call as segment values. Segment values. Department segment values. Account segment values. So segments and segment values. Now we have to create segment values. The system means Fusion applications. Within the Fusion applications, we have to create the segments. The titles you can create as segments. Under each segment, you can create the segment values. And for the segments and segment values, we have one title. The complete information belongs to which organization we have title. So this title we can create in the Fusion applications as chart of account structure name. Okay, chart of account structure name. That is a name for the entire data. Amex Corporation is the name, the title for the all the companies, departments, accounts. So you can call it as chart of account structure name. If you don't want to include the name, nothing wrong. Simply call it as chart of account structure. For chart of accounts, you can give the short name as COA. Call it as chart of account structure or COA structure. Where we are preparing this data, just now where we prepared this data in the spreadsheet. So spreadsheet is very flexible, very flexible. You can arrange the data how you want to arrange. That level of flexibility you have in the spreadsheet. When you talk about Fusion applications, the same flexibility we need to maintain this data like chart of account structure, segment values. What is the flexibility we are talking about? You can see here, it is following some hierarchy. Top level, we have this company. Under this company, we have segments. I can take like this. It is following some hierarchy, data hierarchy. Okay, it is following some hierarchy. So this is hierarchy what we have to understand. So under Amex Corporation, okay, we have different segments. And under company, again, we have the company values. You have to find it as a kind of hierarchy. So this is how we have. If you want to establish the same hierarchy, okay, kind of structure, okay, kind of structured hierarchy. At top level, we have a organization name, Amex Corporation. Under that, we have a segments. Under segment, we have a segment values. If you want to establish this kind of hierarchy in our Fusion applications, we have one separate feature called as accounting key flex field. By using accounting key flex field, you can establish this kind of hierarchy between chart of account structure, segments, and segment values. Now we are on the spreadsheet, so we are able to arrange the data how we need. But when we are working on the Fusion application, you don't see spreadsheet flexibility within the application. So for that, we need something to allow us to create our chart of account structure, segments, and segment values. The future name is accounting key flex field. Okay, the future name is accounting key flex field. By using accounting key flex field, we can create all these in the system in the similar fashion. Top level, you can give the structure name. Under that, you can create segments. Under segment, you can maintain the segment values. If you want to do all this in the system environment in our Fusion applications, we need accounting key flex field. Accounting key flex field will allow us to create the chart of account structure. Within that, you can create the segments. For each segment, you can maintain the segment values. So yes, we have a feature called as accounting key flex field. This feature is available in which application? This feature is available in general ledger application. Within the general ledger application, we have accounting key flex field. By using accounting key flex field, you can create the chart of account structure. How to create the chart of account structure? First, we have to give the chart of account structure name. Then we have to create the segments. After segments, we have to create the segment values. This is how we have to create. So since this is a spreadsheet, easily I can enter these values wherever I want to enter. And if I want to do the same in the system, it is not possible. You cannot maintain the segment values under segments as per system. Okay, as per system, you cannot maintain this information as it is. Since it's a spreadsheet, simply you can enter, but when you talk about system, you cannot do all this. So if you want to do in the system environment, you have to create one additional definition. Okay, additional definition you have to create. What you have to create? I have a company. Under company, I want to maintain all the list of companies. This is a spreadsheet, easily I can maintain. But in the system, within the chart of accounts, under segments, you cannot maintain the segment values directly. What we have to do is, if you want to maintain that all companies data, you have to create one value set. Okay, you have to create one value set. Value set. The value set can contain the values. So what values you are going to maintain in the value set, accordingly you can create the value set. Create company value set. Within the company value set, you maintain all the companies. Inside of company value set, you can maintain all the company values. Okay, within the company value set, you maintain all the company values. This value set, why we are creating these values within the company value set? We cannot create all the companies under company segment. Under segment, you cannot maintain the values. So only you can maintain the values within the value set. Value set is like container for the values. It contains company values. Company value set contains company values. Now this company value set, you can assign to company so that the company can access all the values which are there in the company value set. You have to assign company value set to company segment. So that means the company segment cannot maintain the company values directly. The company segment can have access to the company values with the help of company value set. This is the point we have to understand. So directly we cannot map company values to company segment. That should happen through value set only. If you take example of department, same case. You have to create department value set. And within the department value set, you can maintain all the department values. This department value set you can assign to department segment. Assign to department segment so that department segment can have access to all the departments through value set. Okay, through value set it can access. This is what we have to understand. When you talk about accounts, for accounts also you have to create separate value set. Account value set. So this value set, within the value set you can have all accounts, but who need these accounts? Account segment. So assign account value set to account segment so that you can have access to all the accounts from this account segment. So this is what we have to do. When you create the chart of accounts, we create segments and we create segment values. Where we have to create the segment values? Within the value sets. That means we need value sets. What is the purpose of value sets? For any segment, if you want to maintain the values or data, with the help of value set only, we can achieve that. There are a lot of information which we have to discuss and understand about chart of accounts. We will talk about it. So before we proceed with a few other notes, any questions here, please? Just limit your questions to what we discussed. Okay, beyond that, we are going to discuss. Then we can talk about the questions. So whatever we discussed, what is the scope, like what we discussed. Within that, if you have any questions, let me know.
Without chart of account, we cannot create any transactions.
Yes. No chart of account, no transaction. Any other questions? Okay, now I'm just transforming this name to chart of accounts.
In the R12, it is follow the concept TC architecture and 4C.
I'll talk about all those. Okay, I'll discuss. We are not at that stage. Once we complete the chart of accounts, when we are created by using this chart of accounts, we create something there. I'll talk about it, what you are referring. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions here, please? Okay, no questions. Fine. So within the system, if you want to capture the description for any transaction, what we need? Chart of accounts. To capture the description, we need chart of account. What is the purpose of the chart of accounts? What is the purpose of the chart of accounts?
We need to create the transaction based on the company code.
Yeah. On top of it, you can add the point. The chart of accounts always we create based on reporting requirements. Okay, to meet the company reporting requirements, we have to create the chart of accounts. So if you want to meet the company reporting requirements, accordingly, you have to capture the data. That is the reason we are creating chart of accounts. The purpose of chart of accounts is to capture the data and to produce the reports. Simply, you can say, as per company reporting requirements, we have to create the chart of accounts. This is very, very important. Now, so when we talk about this chart of accounts, how many segments we can create within the chart of accounts? Chart of accounts we can create in accounting key flex field. That accounting key flex field we have in the general ledger application. In general ledger application, we have one feature called as accounting key flex field. Within the accounting key flex field, you can create the chart of account structure. Within the chart of account structure, you can have a segments. For each segment, we need value set. With the help of value sets, we can create the segment values. This is what we discussed. Now the question is, within the chart of accounts, by using accounting key flex field, we create chart of accounts. When you create the chart of accounts, how many segments we can create? So within the chart of accounts, let me copy this. So within the chart of account structure, so minimum you have to create 2 segments. You have to create minimum 2 segments. Those 2 segments are mostly company account. These 2 segments are mandatory. So when you create the chart of accounts, minimum 2 segments are mandatory in the chart of accounts. Those are company and account. And we can call these segments with the different names also, but we have to wait for some time to understand all those. As of now, you call these as a company and account only. Within the chart of accounts, minimum 2 segments are required. So max, how many segments we can create? By using the chart of accounts, maximum how many segments we can create? We can create maximum 30 segments. If you look at any vehicle, you could see some minimum speed and maximum speed. Nobody is utilizing the maximum speed. It is a risk. They'll get into the risk. It could be bike or car or anything else. To address the capability or ability of that vehicle, you could see that speed, maybe 200, 300 speed. The same way within the chart of accounts also, to address the capability of the chart of accounts, they are giving 30 segments. But think, no company is using 30 segments. Not required. The reason is not required. The reason is not required. So no company is using 30 segments. What is the number of segments we use when we talk about real-time implementation? If you take 10 implementations into consideration, mostly you see the segment numbers, like in some implementations you see 6 segments, in some implementations 7 segments. Some clients use some clients you may see they use 8 segments, 9 segments, and max 10 segments. Okay, if somebody using 11, 12, 13, really not required. There could be strong reason. So since every application got its own capabilities, you no need to take too many segments into chart of accounts. So on and average, you can see 7, 8 segments in most of the implementations, on and average. Some clients, they may use 6 segments or 7, 8, 9, 10. And you don't see anywhere somebody is using 20 segments or 16, 17, 18. Nowhere, nobody. Okay. So if you go with the maximum speed, you will be in the risk. If you use maximum number of segments, the application will be in the risk. How it is risk to the application? The system performance will come down. And before we talk about the performance of the system, there won't be any need of too many segments in the chart of accounts. Okay. Say for example, you are recording the transaction. Mostly you have to capture the transaction belongs to which company and what exactly you are doing. It is happening in which department. And you no need to capture the transaction is belongs to which supplier or which customer. When you talk about suppliers always we use in the purchasing and payables application. Purchasing to record the purchase orders, in the payables to record the purchase invoices. We use a supplier. The purchasing and payable application got capabilities to maintain the supplier's information. You can maintain the suppliers in the payables and purchasing. Whenever you record the transaction, by selecting the supplier, you can record the transaction. If purchasing and payable application doesn't have these two applications don't have any capability of maintaining the supplier's information, then you have to create one segment called as a supplier in the chart of accounts, and you can maintain all those suppliers in that relevant value set. Like company, department, account, you may create one more segment as a supplier segment. You can create one value set called as supplier value set. Within that, you can maintain all the suppliers information. Whenever you create the transaction, you can select which company, which department, what you are purchasing, from which supplier you are purchasing, from supplier segment you can select. But that is not required. Okay, our application is not that much poor. The application has a capability of maintaining the suppliers in payables application, customers in receivables applications, items in the inventory application. So in the respective application, the relevant data can be maintained. Whenever you record the transaction, everything you no need to capture as a part of chart of accounts. what are the data you have to capture across the application? What is the common data that you can take as a part of chart of accounts? Okay, there are certain points which you have to discuss. After completing all those, I'll talk about what are the best practices when you design the chart of accounts. When you design the chart of accounts, what are the best practices we have to follow? What are the key points we have to take into consideration so that we can design best chart of accounts which will fit organization reporting requirements? That we'll talk about it. Okay. So here when we talk about these 6 or 7 or 8, 9, 10, how those can be derived, on what base these segments can be finalized. When you do the implementation, as we discussed, two segments are mandatory. Company and account, this is mandatory. Yes, these are mandatory. Along with this company and department, in most of the implementation, definitely we use department because they have to capture the expense department wise. And for certain approvals and all, department is plays very key role. And you may treat department as your cost center or profit center as per your business. So that is the reason in most of the implementation, definitely we use department segment along with the company and account. If I take one typical implementation and their chart of accounts, that looks like this. Company segment, department segment, account segment. Company and account blindly you can suggest, no doubt in that. By closing your eyes, you can say you need company and account for any company. You don't need to study their business, you don't need to understand anything. Simply you can say you need company and account for sure. So when they have a company, definitely they just segregate their functional areas department wise. Procurement function, payables function, billing function, different functions they will have. Those can be handled by departments only. So they need department. So apart from that, what are the other data they want to capture that should be given by client only? Okay, that should be given by client. And very generic requirement you can take if they have a 10 companies. You take this example. They have 3 companies. When they have 3 companies, when they perform the transactions, Amex Financial Services, they may deal with their suppliers and customers. Amex Consulting Services also, they do their business, procuring something from the suppliers or rendering some services, taking service from suppliers and providing the services or supplying the goods to their customers. So that is a core business, purchases and sales. Sometimes instead of purchasing from the suppliers or selling to the customers, there could be transactions within the organization. So the consulting services, the company 3, Amex Consulting Services, they are providing some service to financial services. That means consulting service is not going to get any customer from outside. When consulting service is providing the service to financial services, so within our organization, this activity is happening. The consulting services should treat financial services as their customer, and financial services should treat consulting service as their supplier. But those are not real suppliers and real customers. Those are internal suppliers and customers. That's what we have to treat. And tomorrow the BPO services may need some kind of some service or some goods or material, anything from other companies like financial or consulting or something else. So this all we have to capture in the system. So definitely there will be some transactions between these 3 different companies. You call as companies or call as entities. So between these 3 entities, there could be some business transactions which happens internally. So those you should be able to capture very detailed level. To capture such kind of internal transactions and to produce the reports accordingly, we use or we suggest always to the companies to have intercompany segment within the chart of accounts. Intercompany means, say, company 1 is, okay, company 1 is purchasing from company 3. Now company you take as a 1, department, so and so department, what they are doing, they are taking the services. taking services. So here the meaning is company one, and within the company one, department one, taking the services, so and so services, some consulting services they are taking. Okay, if supplier is there, you'll give supplier name, but here no supplier, taking from company 3. Here intercompany means our company is only from which company? Intercompany 3. 3 means from this. This is how we have to record the transaction. For that reason, so we use intercompany segment as a part of chart of accounts. So along with that, we have to understand as a consultant, we have to give this kind of, we have to propose to the client what would be the best chart of accounts as per their business. Okay, when we talk about business, when you are working for implementation project, you discuss with the client, what is your finance structure? Okay, what is your consolidation structure? And where you are operating the business, what business exactly you are doing. This all we discuss with the client. When we discuss with the client, we'll come to know many things. And the other side, we should always think there could be growth in the business in the future. They may expand or they may acquire, or it could be any scenario. So this is all we have to keep in our mind. In future, they may need additional segments that we have to propose to the client as a, you need definitely some future segments. We have to recommend to the client as they need some future segments. Say for example, you create a chart of accounts with the 6 segments and it's done, it's freezed. You created and it's finalized. Client started using that 6 segment chart of accounts. And they're recording the transaction, everything is on the track and moving smooth. After 2 years, they acquired one company. Okay, they acquired one company. Or else they expanded the business in the different countries. And they came up with a different type of business, new business they established. Now, they may need one more segment. If you want to add any new segments in between, it is not possible. If you add, system will allow. If you add, there will be risk for existing data. It will create data inconsistency issues. Now you are recording every transaction with the company, department, account, and intercompany. Now all of a sudden you are trying to add one more segment. Okay, the system cannot digest that. It cannot understand. It will allow to enter, add one more segment. It doesn't support in all the ways. So that is the reason Oracle strongly recommending that never add any segment in between. Anything you want to add initial level. But we don't know like what segment we need in the future. For that reason, you can maintain few buffer segments that we call as future segments. You may suggest minimum 2 segments, future segment 1 and future segment 2. If you suggest like this, in future, if they need one more segment, they can convert this future 1 to so-and-so segment. Say they are into service industry, they are dealing with the different services. They want to have one segment called as service line. Now the future one in future, maybe after 2-3 years, they may convert into service line. Then in every transaction, they can include the transaction, the companies belongs to within the company. Say for example, Amex Financial Services, they may select as a company. Within the company, they are dealing with the 4 different service lines, 4 different service lines they have. Now they can include what service line, the transactions belongs to which service line also. If they don't have future segment 1, after 4 years, if they want to add the service line, no scope. Again, they have to redesign the chart of accounts. That will become one kind of project. Again, they have to redo everything. That's how that it takes too much of time again. A lot of efforts, time taking. That is the reason always we have to include buffer segments, additional or call as the future segments. So this is very much important to understand. So along with this, what other segments required, client will inform us. Okay, client can inform us what are the other segments required. Say for example, the client is into so-and-so business as we discussed, financial, BPO, consulting. And other side, they do some projects also. They may do some project-based activities, maybe to capture the internal costs, or it could be some capital projects or contract projects for their customers. They may be into some sort of contracting services. And if they are into contracting services, or if they are into project related environment, they can use the applications called as PPM in Fusion. They can use the PPM. So, but they are not interested to use PPM. They says, we don't have too many projects. Our organization is not more project driven organizations. Sometimes we may create project to manage some cost or to perform some activity. Very rarely we deal with the projects in our company. In such kind of scenario, even we don't recommend them to implement PPM, but there will be need of capturing the information project based, project wise. They are recording on transaction. They are purchasing something from supplier. Okay. They are doing some activity, but that activities belongs to some project. Now they want to capture that information. It belongs to which project. In such kind of scenarios, you can include one segment called as project within the chart of accounts. If any transaction they record, if that is belongs to any project, they select which project is that. Okay, which project is that. That's how they can select. For that, you can use the project. And if they are into different products or services or something else, so those you can include as a segments. Maybe they are into different product. They want to identify the transactions belongs to which process line. It may be product related process, or it may be service related process, or it may be something else. So as per their business, they want to capture the transaction, what activity you are doing. It belongs to which process line, or product line, service line, or something else. So these client has to come up. Okay. As a consultant, what we can suggest is definitely you need company and do account. So no doubt 100% every organization need department as one of the segment. And if they are performing, say these are the three entities they have. So among these three entities, if there are transactions are happening, always transactions should happen with the customers and suppliers, not within the organization. Within the organization, transactions are happening. What benefit you can get? Nothing. We have to shut down the business. So sometimes it may happen along with the regular business. Sometimes there could be some adjustments. For that reason, it's something is happening. To capture that, we have to facilitate intercompany segment. So it will enable the better visibility of intercompany transaction reporting capabilities. And in your organization, sometimes you deal with projects. If you are doing the projects on regular base, don't create any segments in the chart of accounts. Implement PPM applications for your company. Project portfolio management, project accounting. Inside, we have a project accounting application, costing, billing, contracts. So that application can be implemented for your company. Okay, if you are doing projects regular base, maybe internal or external projects. And if you are just rarely recording the project related transactions, yes, better you can have a segment. Without segment also we can handle. There are some other ways, but you may have a segment. And apart from that, as per your nature of business, what you are doing, mostly you want to identify every transaction. So belongs to which process line. Maybe you want to produce the reports, process line based reports. And in future, you will not have any scope to increase the segments. Now you have to plan to use in the future. If you fail to plan now, you will fail to use in the future. So that is the reason it's very, very important. We always recommend to have minimum 2 future segments. Some clients will accept with the 2, some clients says we don't need, but still we have to help them to understand what kind of risk they get into, how it can mitigate that risk by keeping these future segments. Okay, so these are the points we have to understand when you create the chart of accounts. So any questions here, please?
What is the purpose of intercompany transaction? What is intercompany?
I explained just now, right? The company, consulting company is providing some services to Amex Financial Services. Everything is happening where? internally
Right.
within the Amex corporation happening. Okay, the business always should deal with the suppliers and customers, not with other entities within the group of the company. Okay, if
Okay.
Amex Consulting Services is providing some service to Amex Financial Services, so Amex Consulting Service is not providing service to customer, right?
Within the same company.
Yeah, in the same group for other company.
Okay.
It happening within, right? No supplier, no customer, reality.
Okay.
That we call as intercompany transaction. See, this is also company. This is also company. Instead of keeping company here, so Amex Consulting Services is taking the services from this. Now you take company one, means Amex. Amex is taking the services. What they are doing, they are taking so and so service, Amex service from Amex is taking from where?
Amex Consulting.
Yeah, Amex Financial Services is taking from Amex Consulting. Now here you have to say 3, right?
3, yeah.
Instead of giving here and here same segment names, company, we are calling as inter.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what we are trying to do. Any questions, please?
Lakshman, I have a quick question on this one. So you said once the chart of account structure is frozen, it's recommended not to go back and change anything.
Exactly.
But is it okay to rename a future segment? So let's say that future one changes to whatever project or product or whatever. Is that okay?
Yeah, anything, whatever
You can change
your
the name.
requirement in the future, you can convert. See,
Okay.
you have a 2 segments, future 1, future 2. After 2 years, you converted this future 1 into some location. Okay, you are doing some operation, some location based, and you identified you need one more segment called as location. You converted future 1 as a location. And after 5 years, again you identified need of one more new segment, that is a product. You converted future 2 as a product. After 10 years, you need one more segment. No scope.
Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's how it works. Thanks. Any other questions?
Until the transaction here is not created, so we can change the feature 1, feature 2.
Yes.
Once the transaction is created, we cannot change.
Correct. That is true. That's true. Before we go on to create the transaction, before you use this chart of accounts, you can go and do some changes. There won't be any risk. Once you started using this chart of accounts to record the business transaction, you should not touch it for any kind of amendments.
So Lakshman sir,
Please.
he said actually the company will tell us the implementers. Let's suppose we are going as a team to some AT&T and we are trying to implement Oracle Financials there. So how do the company AT&T know about Oracle Financials, isn't it? He is saying sometime in the class, sometime back he said, if they tell you how many segments you need.
No. Listen.
Okay.
They never says. They don't know what is the meaning of segments in Oracle.
Correct.
What
Correct.
we do is, we'll sit with the client.
Correct.
Okay. We'll ask them. Yeah, tell me, just talk about your organization structure.
Yes.
Okay, talk about the geographies where you are operating the business. This is, we are operating the business in 5 countries. Okay. And in each country, so and so business we are doing. And these many branches we have in each country. So these are the different type of businesses we have. And these many branches that we have, and primarily we are into service provide. We are dealing with the services and we are dealing with the products. Okay, we do some manufacturing or we do just a trading only. We purchase and we sell. This is how they'll explain. First, we have to get a big picture. Okay, where geographies and again what businesses. Okay, how that hierarchy is established. Forget about Fusion application when you do the implementation, when you talk to the client.
Yeah.
Understand and drag them into Fusion.
So our ultimate goal is how does it help us for the reporting?
Exactly. How they are running the business, how they do the reporting. If they want to capture that reporting, how we have to accommodate the same in the system with the chart of accounts. That is our target.
So when you have only two segments, like of course different, not two segments. Generally, two segments are, they say. Even I read so many times. Two segments are enough for the chart of accounts.
No. Don't say that. It's a mandatory. No company using
Mandatory two segments.
mandatory. Otherwise, your chart of account doesn't work.
So that is for so that too one of the segments. I mean, always the department is always the. I mean, account is always a balancing segment where we.
No. Don't talk all those things.
Okay.
It's not like you and me are discussing. Don't mind.
No, okay.
I will, whenever the time will come, I will use the term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try
The
to
last
understand
question.
up to here. Yeah.
Last point, I just wanted to ask you, in not now, anytime in next couple of days, 3-4 days later, you must be coming across some good case study, like, where we can identify the segments, can you please take that case?
That's what you will come to know in the best
Okay.
practices.
Okay.
After a few classes, we talk about some enterprise, how we have to bring their business environment into system environment. The big picture I will discuss.
Yes.
Once you are comfortable. So whatever we discuss now about chart of accounts, on top of it, I'll be adding those points. There you can understand that. Yeah. What to take into chart of account as a segment, what you should not take, why. This all we will discuss.
Correct. That I want. Yes, correct.
Yeah, definitely. That we need. We'll do that. Any other questions, please? Okay. So no questions. Fine. So this is what we have to understand about chart of accounts. Okay. So there are few points which we have to discuss as a best practices, and like what to take, what not to take, and what are the other areas of information we have to understand when you deal with the chart of accounts. We will discuss maybe after 2-3 classes. There is a separate concept. After discussing that, we should be able to just map the data with the different ways. So there, those points will come into picture. For now, just remember all these points. Okay. If you want to capture the description of any transaction as per our Fusion applications, we have to create chart of accounts. What exact data you want to capture in each and every transaction, that is for the purpose of your reporting, you have to capture. When we are going to capture the data, some set of data into every transaction, that you have to maintain in the system first by using the chart of accounts concept. What varieties of data you want to maintain within the chart of accounts, that you can maintain with the segment concept. For every segment, we have to create the value set. With the help of value set, we can maintain the data. Those value sets can be associated with the segments. Those value sets can be associated with the segments. And when we talk about chart of accounts creation, the chart of accounts we can create in the system by using accounting key flex field, one of the feature. Okay, one of the feature which is available in the general ledger application. The process wise, first we'll give the chart of account structure name. Within that, we create all the segments what we require. It may be 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. We create. For each segment, we have to create the value set. Within the value sets, you can maintain the segment values. Those value sets we associate with the segments. So that's how we can keep our chart of accounts ready, which will allow us to capture the detailed information for every transaction, which company, which department, what activity, means which account, what we are doing exactly. Detail level you can capture. That is a good enough kind of great information to produce the reports. So this is what we are discussing. And apart from that, when you talk about number of segments, we can create max 30, but to make use of the chart of accounts, minimum 2 are mandatory. Those 2 are company and account. This is what we have to understand about chart of accounts. Okay, this is what we have to understand about chart of accounts. So any questions here, please? No questions. Now, if you want to create chart of accounts in the system, what are the tasks we have to perform? We have seen calendar and currency. calendar, simple one task. You have to go to manage accounting calendars and you can provide some inputs and you can create one-step process. Currency is also one-step process, but we never did anything related to currency. We have just visited that page. We navigated and we have seen how the currencies information is available. We didn't do more than that related to currencies. So currency data Oracle is providing as a seeded data. Seeded data means the data which is provided by Oracle, you can call as seeded data. So calendar we created, currency we didn't create, currencies are available. Now, when we talk about chart of accounts we have to create. Oracle is not providing any chart of accounts. We have to create as per our company requirement. How many segments required? What is the chart of account structure name? And what data you are going to maintain? Everything we have to create from the scratch. No sample chart of accounts you get from Oracle, the fresh instance, and they don't provide anything. Everything we have to create from the scratch. So if you want to complete this chart of accounts definition in the system environment, what are the steps need to be followed? What is the sequence of steps we have to follow? We'll see. The very first step is we have to create the value sets. So how many segments we have? For each segment, we have to create the value set. Okay, you have to create the value set. Let me take the list of setups which you have to perform. If you want to create the chart of account structure or chart of accounts, first we have to create the value sets. So create value sets. How many value sets? How many segments we have? Those many value sets. For company, one value set. Intercompany, separate value set. If you have a 10 companies within the company value set, company segment, the same you need in intercompany also, but you have to maintain separately because there are some reasons. There are some concepts which will conflict if you have a same value set for both segments. You have to maintain separate segment value sets for company and intercompany. Even both are same data. After creating the value set, you can create chart of account structure name, just giving the title like this. Okay, giving title, or else here simply you can take the name as any name you can call. Simply you can say chart of accounts. To create the chart of accounts, first we have to create the value sets, then create chart of account structure name. Sorry. Okay, create chart of account structure name. Give the name as we discussed here. We are just calling it as Amex Corporation. That's how you have to give the name. So under that, we can have a segments. That means we have to create the segments. The next step. Create segments. The same series we have to follow. Okay, I'm not talking very randomly. This is a series we have to follow. First, we have to create the value set. After value set, you can create chart of account structure name. After chart of account structure name, you have to create the segments. After creating the segments, you have to associate respective value sets to segments. Company segment, company value set you have to assign. For a department segment, you have to assign the department value set. Account value set you have to assign to account segment. This is what you have to do. Say assign value sets to segments. Assign value sets to segment. So along with the value sets, we have to assign segment labels to segment. Assign segment labels to segments. We are not hurried to understand what does it mean by segment labels. So we'll understand very soon. For now, take the naming convention. Try to remember this naming convention. Just think like I'm trying to introduce some terminologies, what we use and what sequence we follow. Once we get into application, okay, when we find the right time to understand certain kind of terminology or certain concept, we'll discuss accordingly. For now, take it as a segment labels we have to assign to segments. We should not try to find the colors of the segment labels, why, where, how. Don't take all those, don't start thinking. Just take as a point, we will understand. When we use it, we can understand. After certain things, even when we use it, we don't understand where it will impact. There you can understand how it is useful. Okay. So based on where it will help us to understand, I will discuss. For now, just take as a point. We have to create the segments. For segments, we have to assign the value sets as well as segment labels. Which labels, why and all we'll discuss. The other point is, once we are ready with this data, we have to create chart of account structure instance. Create chart of account structure instance. Once you complete all these setups, you can say this is a chart of account data. Okay, chart of account is ready, but you have to just add the values, segment values we have to add. So with this value set, structure name, segments, value set assignments to segment, label assignment to segments, you can say chart of account is ready. But as per our application, if chart of account is ready, you cannot use it. That you have to make a copy. The copy we call as chart of account structure instance. The instance, the term meaning is replicating, copy, English term meaning. Even we are calling as a test instance production instance. That is a copy of the software product, which is built by Oracle. Here we are talking about chart of account structure. If you copy the chart of account structure, the copy means instance. Okay. So we copy the chart of account structure that we call as instance. Whatever the chart of account structure we create, you cannot use it as it is. That need to be copied, then you can use it. Why they given like that, we will discuss. When we deal with that, when you create in the system, when you copy that, I will talk about it. For now, you take as a point. So by doing all these setups, we will get ready with the chart of accounts. The same chart of accounts we have to copy, so that we call as chart of account structure instance. In chart of account structure instance is nothing but copy of chart of account structure. The copy of chart of account structure we are calling as chart of account structure instance. And so other points, where we are creating this chart of account structure. We are creating the chart of account structure within the accounting key flex field. Now this accounting key flex field we have to submit for validation. When you submit this accounting key flex field for validation, the accounting key flex field will validate the chart of account is created properly or not. What is the key point it will verify? Minimum 2 segments are available or not. The company and account segments are available or not. That is the one thing that accounting key flex field will verify. And it will verify few more points. When we really do in the system, I will explain what else it will validate. But for now, you can take simple point. After completing all these setups, where we are doing all these setups? Within the accounting key flex field. Since we are doing the chart of accounts creation within the accounting key flex field, we have to submit accounting key flex field for validation. Submitting accounting key flex field for validation, we call as deploying accounting key flex field. We have to deploy it. Deploy is nothing but we submit for compilation, to compile or to validate it. So, deploy accounting key flex field. We have to deploy it. Why we are deploying accounting key flex field? Within the accounting key flex field only we have our chart of accounts that we are submitting for validation. Once the deployment is done, within these value sets, you can start creating the values. Okay, within the company value set, list out all your companies. The department value set, list out all your departments. In account value set, list out all your accounts. This is what we have to do. So you can say create values in value sets. So along with that, we have to set value attributes. So assign value attributes to segment values. So within the value sets, what we create, those are segment values, or else let me write create segment values. Create segment values in value sets. In value sets, we have to create the segment values and assign value attributes to segment values. So when you create the values in the value sets, you have to assign the value attributes. What does it mean by value attributes? We don't know as of now. We'll see. We'll come to know. Okay. So value attributes. And segment labels. Just I'm trying to introduce to this terminology and the series of setups, how we have to perform. That's it. So if you want to create the chart of accounts, these are the mandatory steps you have to follow, and the same series you have to follow. Okay. The same, first you have to create this next. You cannot play with a different sequence. Okay, same sequence you have to follow so that system will support you to create the chart of accounts. So any questions here, please? Any questions from anyone? Okay, no questions. Now, we'll go and see how to create the value sets. How to create the value sets, we will see. So go to instance. So in the last session, we created our implementation project. Go to our implementation project. Click on overview. It will display what are the implementation projects are assigned to current user. This is a project. Now open the project. We want to create value sets. Value sets where we need within the chart of accounts. Since we are going to use these value sets within the chart of accounts, you search for these value sets by giving the name as chart of accounts value sets. The value sets what we are going to use in the chart of accounts we are creating now. So call it as chart of accounts value sets. Okay. So here is the task. Manage chart of accounts value sets. Manage chart of account value set values. We are not going to create the value set values. We are going to create the value sets. Okay. Manage chart of accounts value sets. Click on this task. Manage chart of accounts value sets. This is the task. Now click on go to task icon. So by default, you can find search section. You can find out existing value sets. But in the fresh instance, you don't find even single value set. Everything we have to create whatever we need. You don't find anything. Once you create, if you want to do some changes to value sets, or if you want to look into that value set, you may use this search section. But in the fresh instance, you don't find anything. Nothing Oracle will provide. Everything we have to create from the scratch. After landing in this page, here you can see create icon, the plus icon. You click on that plus icon so that it will allow you to create the value set. Just click on this plus icon. So this is the page where you can create the value set. Now we discussed these are the segments we are going to use. Okay. I don't need this product line. Let's create our chart of accounts with these segments. Later we'll create one more segment after understanding few more points which are related to chart of accounts. But now we'll proceed with this chart of accounts. So for each segment, we have to create one value set. For each segment, we have to create one value set. Let's see how to create those. First, we'll create value set for company. Here you can give the name. So use the company name. Okay, company name means the banner, the title for the organization. That is Amex. So Amex company. We are creating value set for company segment. I'm giving the name as Amex company. So description is not mandatory. The value set code is mandatory, but description is not mandatory. Still, if you want to copy and paste, you can copy and paste. If you want to write some long description, you can write it. And module, where we are going to use this value set. It's very clear to us. We are going to use the value set for segments. Segments we have in the chart of account. Chart of accounts, we are creating the accounting key flex wheel that is there in the general ledger. That means value set we are creating to use in the general ledger application. So select application as a general ledger. Here they given name as a module. Both are same. Application, module, both are same. You can call with any name. Application functional point of view call as application. Technical point of view we call as a module. So select application name as a general ledger application. This value set we are going to use in the general ledger application. So validation type select as independent. Primarily we use independent. The rest also I will explain, but not required now. You just take as independent. That means the company, whatever the values we are going to create, those are going to have independent as a independent values. Those are not going to have a dependency on any other values. Those are completely independent. So within this company value set, so what kind of data you want to enter? Do you want to enter numbers, date or time, or character? Character supports numbers and alphanumeric. I mean to say alphanumeric. Select character only all the time. And within this value set, you just specify values are going to be very independent, and data what we are going to enter is characters, and select subtype as a text, not time or numbers. Select as a text. That means within the Amex company value set, we are going to enter the text which refers characters like alphanumeric. And when you create the values in the company value set, what is the maximum length you have to use for company code? Here we taken company code as 1, 2, 3. That means how many digit? 1 digit number. Here also 1 digit. Now for the companies what you create, how many digits you require? Maximum length means number of digits. So you may give 4. 4 means in 4 digits you can create the company codes. You may just plan to create company codes like 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, or else if you give 2, you can create 2-digit number. If you give 3-digit number, you can create. So this preference would be given by client. Client will take the decision. Do they need company codes in 1 digit or 2 digit or 3 digit or 4 digit? Most of the implementations we go with the 2 digits, 3 digits or 4 digits. So generally clients doesn't choose with 1 digit numbers. So the 2 digits or 3 or 4 digits. Let's take 4 digit number. That means with the 4 digits you can create any company code. Max it allows up to 9,999 companies if required. The least you can start from the 0 or 1. So that is the range. When you set 4, we create all the companies with the 4 digits. And minimum value and maximum value. Say you given 4. You given 4, but you want to set a constraint, some rule you want to set stating that. So if I give 4, users are allowed to enter the values, I mean to say, the companies can be created with 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit also. But you want to set a rule, the value, any company code is created that should follow 4 digits. Accordingly, you can set the rule saying that maybe company code should be in between 1000 to 9,999. That means with that 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit company codes cannot be entered into this value set. It should be in between. This is how you can set a rule if required. Generally, we don't set. If required, you can set like this. If somebody is trying to enter a company code as 100, it doesn't allow. Okay, it should be in between 1000 and 9,999. Within that range of values only it will allow. Uppercase only. If you enable the checkbox, you will enter the company code when you are writing like Amex Financial Services, this text you have to write complete in uppercase. It doesn't allow lowercase. And zero fill. Zero fill, if you enable, what happens is, say you selected 4. I may enter company code as 1. If I enter 1, if this zero fill is enabled, length is 4, remaining digits, it will just fill with the zeros. Because its total should be 4. You are telling to the system, if 4 is not there, fill with the zeros. If I enter company code 10, remaining 2 digits, it will fill with the zeros. If I enter 100, 1 more digit left, it will fill with the 0. If you enter 1000, nothing to fill, 4 digits you enter. So that's how this zero fill works. Uppercase means whatever the description you are writing for companies, if you want to make a rule, everything need to be entered in uppercase, you can enable it. If you don't want to allow to enter the values, so any value, you can set a rule, the value should be in between so and so range that you can set as minimum to maximum. And security enabled and this data security resource name, these two fields are related to separate concept. When we work on the general ledger application, we have concept. We have to come back to this page and we have to set this. Now it is not related to definition of the chart value set. It is at the level of value set, but that is a separate concept. We will work on it. We will work on it when you are working on general ledger application. So that is a separate concept which you call as security rules. That is a concept. So this is how just we have to create the value set. Now say save and close. Follow the same process for all the value sets. Same. Click on add and say Amex department. Description is not mandatory. You can provide or else ignore it. Module is general ledger. Validation type is independent. Take everything as it is. That's how we create. Even system also can create automatically. Same it will take. We'll see all those. So I'm giving for department also 4. Rest nothing is required. So
It's
save and
secure-
close.
Purpose of security enable.
Sorry,
Security enable checkbox.
that is security rule concept, separate concept. Okay, we'll work on it. We have as per our course curriculum.
Okay.
We'll work on it. Security rule means you can set some rules. So
Okay.
so and so companies can be allowed by accessed by so and so people. That's how you can set rules. You can write your rules.
Okay.
Right. Click on create. The next segment is Amex account. And module is general ledger. Validation type is independent. I'll talk about remaining also. This is a independent only is the primary. Rest are not so great. Generally, we don't use. If somewhere we use in the sense what purpose we use, I'll explain later. Now just you go with what is the standard process. Text. So accounts I want to give you the 5 digits because you can find always huge number of accounts for every company. 5 digits. 5 digits means it will allow up to 99,999 accounts. So save and close. After account, what segment we have? Intercompany segment. Amex. Sorry, Amex intercompany. Okay, here the rule is what length we use it for company, same length we have to use. Because whatever the values we maintain for company, same we use for intercompany. The company value set length and intercompany value set length should be same. Okay, these two value sets length should be same. There we use 4, here also 4. So save and close. What is the next segment? Project. Okay, This length and all client will decide. Accordingly, we have to set. For now, everything I'm giving 4. So save and close. And we have 2 more segments as a future 1 and a future 2. MX future 1 value set. Say save and close. So here also I'm just giving 4 as a length. So save and close. So we are ready with all the value sets. You can find the same here. Search for the value sets which are available with Amex as a prefix. So we created 7 value sets. So after value sets, we have to create the chart of account structure segments. Okay, this we'll see in the next session. The next weekend sessions, we'll try to complete this, and we'll complete this, and the rest of setups also we'll discuss, and we'll proceed accordingly. So we're done for today. Since these are just very initial classes, I'm taking for shorter period. From maybe coming weekend onwards, we'll try to stretch a little bit more the time, so that we'll be able to cover good
Lakshman sir,
amount of information.
can we start half an hour early so that by 11, it's really getting.
Yeah, sure, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
So we'll
Thank you.
pre-phone. Definitely, we'll pre-phone. That would be more convenient for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, thanks. We'll just pre-phone and we'll extend the time also. So that would support. So try to complete all these from your end by next session, so that you'll feel more comfortable when you talk about system and all. Okay. So just go through all the process of creating the users, creating, enabling offerings and options. Just you walk through. Those might be enabled already. Just you get into that screens so that you can feel the experience, and create implementation project, updating the status, and creating calendar, going through the currency information, and the content, whatever we discussed in the last 4 sessions, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be 6th session. The complete content, what we discussed, just walk through and try to memorize those. And that would be very much useful when we discuss, when we do something, there would be some kind of dependency. So all the ways it will help you. Try to complete whatever we completed till today, so that the transition would be very smooth. So done from my side. If you have any questions, please. No questions.